Hi everyone. So I hope these videos are helpful to you. They're just kind of a way that we can talk about course concepts, try to get some of that information to you, which can be challenging when we're not in class together. So hopefully you find them helpful. If you have any feedback, you can of course email me and let me know. So this week we're talking about citation, and specifically for this class, APA citation. And citation is one of those things. It's a little tricky. It's one of those things that seems straightforward until you go to do it. And it's something that students often struggle with at the beginning, especially before it gets more familiar. So we're going to try to demystify that a little bit today. I'm going to give you some resources and some examples so that hopefully you feel confident moving forward with using citation in this class as well as your other classes. So as always, we're going to launch here from the Great Bay homepage. The library has a lot of wonderful resources about citation, and that's where we're going to start. So if we go up here under Student Services and scroll down to Library, and right here from the library homepage, I will get to this GBCC Library Citation Guide. And this has information about all of your citation styles, but again, for this class and for many other classes at Great Bay, you will use APA style. So here on this first page, there's all kinds of reasons that you should cite, kind of what the point is, why we bother with it, information about plagiarism, what it is, what it isn't, how to avoid it. So I would definitely encourage you to read through that. And then when you're looking for resources about a specific style, you can click on these links up here at the top. One other thing I want to bring to your attention is this email. This reference email goes to Becky Clerkin. You're going to be introduced to Becky this week. She's our um, library director and our resident citation rock star. Becky is awesome. She's fun. She's knowledgeable. She is your go-to resource for everything related to research and citation. So definitely kind of keep that email in mind as well. So we're going to click now on APA because that's what we're using for this class. And APA tab here has all kinds of different tips and kind of examples of how to create your in-text citations, which are in the body of your paper, and then your reference list, which goes at the end of your paper. I'm not going to read through all of them now, but I would encourage you to kind of do that, make sure everything seems clear to you. There's also a link here to Purdue OWL. Purdue OWL is the online writing lab at Purdue University, and it's one of the leading scholarly resources for how to do citation in all different styles. So if you need more examples or more practice, or you just kind of want more information, definitely visit Purdue OWL. Okay, so I'm going to show you, in addition to these resources, some examples that I've put together for you actually from my own work of what some of these citation situations look like. And I'm hoping that having concrete examples to look at will help you kind of see what this looks like in practice and see the kind of things that you might be asked to do in your academic work. So first I'm going to pull up a paper that I've done here. I've just highlighted some of these sentences to make them easier for us to find. And there are some things I want to point out to you related to this information and how I've cited it. So the biggest takeaway I want you to get from this, if you get nothing else, is that even if you put an idea in your own words and you summarize it and you paraphrase it, you still have to cite. If I don't cite it, what I'm implying is that this is my original research, that as part of my dissertation or my career work, I've gone in and interviewed people and collected data and done testing and done original research to find this information. Okay, that's not true at this point in my career, and I doubt that it's true in your career at this point either. So you will need to cite every idea that you have that's not coming directly from your original work, even if you've paraphrased it. So I've showed you how to do this in this example, okay? This sentence is in my own words, okay? There are no quotation marks here. This is my own words, my own phrasing, but it's not based on my original work. It's based on the work of these authors here. So I've put their last names and a comma and the date of publication in parentheses at the end of my sentence. Okay, and that tells the reader, my instructor, or anyone else, oh, this is where she got that from. Okay, here's another one. So here again, I've put this in my own words. This is my own phrasing, kind of in the flow of my paper, but the idea comes from this Crispin Delgado, these authors here. So I've put in parentheses at the end of the sentence their names and a comma and the date that this was published. Okay, so that's how I do this for a paraphrase, for something that I have rephrased from someone else's idea. If we scroll down, I have another example for you, and this one is a little different. This one is a direct quotation. I've taken this sentence exactly how the authors put it in the article, and I've put it in my paper. You're allowed to do that, okay? That's okay. In this case, I prefer their phrasing. I like how they've said it. They've said it as clearly as I could say it. I'm going to put it in exactly as they have it. One or two major differences actually that you'll notice. One is it's in quotation marks. So right away when my reader gets to that part and they see the quotation marks, they know, okay, this is a direct quote that she's taken from this article. The second thing is you'll see something in the parentheses that you didn't see before, and that's this page number. Okay, when you have a direct quotation, again, we put the author's last names, we put the comma, we put the year, so same as the last time, but now we have another comma and we put the page number in here. Okay, and that's the difference when there's a direct quotation. All right, now the next thing I want to point out to you is that each of these in-text citations, which we also call, by the way, parenthetical citations because of the parentheses, each of these shorter citations that's in the body of my paper corresponds to something that's in my reference list. So let's take a look now at the list of references that goes at the end of my paper. Okay, and here again, I've just highlighted things so we can find them more easily. A couple general things I want to point out about your reference list. The title is references, okay? In APA format, that's what it's titled. It's not called works cited, it's not called bibliography, it's called references. And then you'll see that my sources are alphabetical here by author, okay? So you'll want to make sure that you set up your reference page alphabetically by the last name of the first author listed on each of your sources. The other thing you'll notice is this kind of funny looking reversed indent. This is called a hanging indent. And this is how you're going to set up your reference page again in APA, and it kind of helps you see where the references separate from each other. So it's kind of backwards, isn't it? Reversed from a normal paragraph indent. Okay, so now what I want to show you is how these longer references correspond to the parenthetical references or the in-text citations that we just looked at. So for example, this first one that's in my paper is Pruitt and Absher. So if my instructor or someone who's reading the paper wants to know, you know, hey, this looks like a good source, where can I find it? How can I find this information? He or she would go to my reference page, and alphabetically we would find the full citation for Pruitt and Absher with the article title, the journal title, the page numbers that they can find it. Okay, so this is going to, they're going to match up, essentially. They're going to all correspond to one at the end. Again, if we go down here, Crispin Delgado, we looked at that one. This is what I put in the body of my paper, but then if my reader wants more information, they go to my reference page and they scroll up and they can see here the corresponding entry in the reference page. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like in a paper. What I want to show you now is the equivalent of this, but in a slideshow or a presentation. For this class and in some other classes, in lieu of writing papers, you're going to be doing presentations or slideshows, and you're going to need, again, there to cite sources that are not your own. So I'm just going to show you some examples of what that looks like. Okay, so again, this is something that I have put together here, and I want to show you a couple of examples from this. So here again, we see the same concept. Any fact that is not my original research, even if I've paraphrased it, I need to put the citation there. Now, this is an example of what we call organization as an author. And this is something that you're going to encounter in FYE. A lot of times you're going to find career information from, you know, the Department of Labor or a specific professional website, you know, a nursing association or something like that. And this might not have an individual person listed as an author, and that's the case here. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's an organization, it's a group of people that's putting out this research. So when I found this research, it didn't have an individual listed as the author. The organization is the author, okay? But you'll see that I treat it the same. I have the author, so to speak, here, right? And then a comma, and then the year. Okay? Now, this one is different. This one is like the ones that we saw before, where the author is an individual. Okay, she's written this article. I've put this in my own words. She didn't say hang in there in the article. This is me saying that, right? But I still want to give her credit for her research and her ideas. So I'm going to put her last name and a comma in the year here. Okay? If we look at the next slide, we can see more examples. These two are both examples of an organization as an author. So Campus Mindworks is a health and wellness for college students website that's put out by the University of Michigan, and they have given me this information here. So I'm going to list that organization as the author and a comma and then 2016. Here again, this comes from the University of Michigan, doesn't have a specific person that wrote the page, it's just, it comes from the organization. So I'm going to put that and a comma in the year. Okay? So really it's the same principle, but I wanted to point this out to you. If you cite Career Coach, by the way, in your final presentation, this is how you will cite it. If you go on to those informational pages that came up with your Career Coach results, such as the salary or the job outlook or, you know, how much the field is going to grow, things like that, the tasks of the job, all of those little sub pages on Career Coach, you're not going to find an author there. Okay, the organization is the author. The group of people or the team or the company that put out that page, that's the author. So when you cite Career Coach, you're going to have in your parentheses Career Coach, comma, 2019. Okay? Now, here again, just like in my paper, all of these facts that I have and all of these little parenthetical citations that I have on my slides are going to correspond to something in my reference list. All right, so just like at the end of my paper, at the end of my slideshow, I have references. Now, if you can figure out how to do a hanging indent in PowerPoint, you will forever be my hero. I cannot figure it out. Okay, so technically, and my apologies to Becky and the citation gods because I can't do it. Technically, it is supposed to be a hanging indent still. Okay, it's still supposed to look like it does in the paper with that kind of reverse indent. I couldn't figure it out. If you can get it to format like that, that is awesome. The biggest thing is that they're here. Okay, so here again, you can see I've titled my slide references. I have it alphabetical by the author. And for every parenthetical citation or every in-text citation that I have a corresponding entry on my reference slide. So for your presentation for this class and any presentations that you do for other classes where you have a slideshow, just like you have a reference page at the end, you're going to have a reference slide at the end of your presentation. Okay, so here we can see Campus Mindworks. We looked at that one. That's an organization serving as an author. And here is the full citation of how and where I got that information. Okay, if we go to the next page, we see Kitzrow. She's the one that we looked at her citation of her actual article. And here again, that is that's going to send us back here to get kind of the full information. So it's exactly the same function as it is in your paper. If you can get it to be the same format, that's wonderful, because it's supposed to be. Okay. All right. So I wanted to show you just kind of what those things look like. If you take nothing else away from this, take this. You have to cite anything that's not your own idea, okay? Whether you paraphrase it, you summarize it, no matter how you present it, if it's not your original research, you have to cite it. If you don't do that, that is plagiarism. And it's really important to me that you understand that, because there are major consequences for plagiarism. Depending on your instructor, you can get an F on your assignment, or you can even get an AF for the class. Okay, and if your plagiarism is unintentional and you didn't understand that that was plagiarism, that's really sad when that happens. And I've seen that happen. So I just want to make sure that you understand that anything that's not your original idea, you have to cite. Okay? So if you have any questions or any problems with citation, or you need more information, go back to these resources that are here in APA. Okay, and if you need personal help, you can contact me, or better yet, you can contact Becky, because Becky has all this in her head and she's brilliant. Okay, and loves doing it. So we'll withhold judgment on that, because I think that's a little kooky, but she loves doing it, and that's awesome. And so she's a great resource for you. Definitely contact Becky if you need help. Reach out to me if you need help. This is tricky, but it gets easier with practice. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you, and hopefully you can move into citing sources for this class and your other classes with a little bit more confidence.